I don't know if there's something in the water or if there really is something about all these Saved by the Bell references, but Anthony Della Calce over here, his second straight week, he went 5-2. Last year he was all about losing. This year you're turning things around.
So you've credited the mullet. Now you said there's something in the water and there's Saved by the Bell references. Why can't I just get credit for being right? Maybe I actually know what I'm talking about.
That might be true, but I've known you for quite a few years now, and I know the deal. Craig, he also went 5-2. Pretty good week for him. I went 4-3. However, I still hold the lead in the overall race.
Fair enough, but I'm coming for you. As for Craig's 5-2 week, it's definitely something in the water with him because he definitely doesn't know what he's talking about.
We all like to drink water. Maybe not Kool-Aid. Water, here on Game Day. You want big-time SEC matchups? Well, CBS, luckily, has all of those big games. This one is no different. Number 17 Florida goes into number 1 LSU in an absolutely huge battle. Florida, no matter who it's going to be at quarterback, it's going to be a freshman. Not, however, Weathersfield's Tyler Murphy.
No, not Weathersfield's Tyler Murphy, but I don't really think it's going to matter. Did you see what happened to the Gators last week when they played Alabama at home? Now they're going to play LSU, who might be even better than Alabama. On the road, it doesn't bode well. As you mentioned, they're going to start a freshman quarterback, probably quarterback Jeff Driscoll in for the injured John Brantley. I don't think the Gators are going to have much luck at all. I think LSU's defense is going to feast on that young quarterback in the Florida offense.
Absolutely. The LSU defense is awesome, simply put. You know, my struggle is picking LSU ever, but I do think they're the best team in the country right now. That defense, like you said, is just licking their chops going against that Florida offense. What do you got?
Yeah, Florida's just not going to match up with an LSU team right now. They're a cut below them. LSU handles their business 31-10.
Yeah, LSU minus 14 in this game. They're going to win it 34-17. ABC's going to have a big matchup of their own featuring two Big Ten teams as Ohio State goes into number 14 Nebraska in Nebraska's first ever home game in the Big Ten. This one should be an easy win, I would think, for Nebraska.
Yeah, you would think so. Ohio State simply has no offense to speak of whatsoever, even though their defense is playing reasonably well. I just don't see how you can win a game if you can't score points, obviously. Meanwhile, Nebraska's coming off of a tough loss at Wisconsin. I think they'll rebound this week with Taylor Martinez. This game was supposed to be a big matchup before the season started, but Ohio State's down, and Nebraska's not as good as maybe we thought they were.
Ohio State's still missing a bunch of players. Nebraska's going to want to put that Wisconsin loss behind them in a big way. Ohio State scored 7 points last week. I don't know how you do that. I think that's impossible in college football for a major program. They did it. Who wins this game?
I think Nebraska's going to have a big day. Their fans are going to be stoked for this game. 27-3, Huskers.
Well, you know, I got Nebraska minus 11 winning it, 41-21. You know, I let Anthony over here off the hook a little bit in the opening. I didn't mention his Virginia Tech Hokies getting absolutely destroyed by the Clemson Tigers. What happened to your Hokies, Anthony?
Well, some of us actually have to work on the weekend, so I did not see a second of that game, and I suppose I should be thankful for that, since I probably just would have been yelling at the TV and throwing stuff at it the whole game.
Clemson looked very good against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, it was the first time they actually played a real team, and they got it handed to them by the Tigers. But now, Virginia Tech is number 21 in the nation. They're hosting Miami.
Yeah, they're going to have to try and rebound this week after what it was.
Anthony, I heard you were in a foul mood this week because your precious Hokies got beat up on. Well, look on the bright side. At least you have a very stylish hairdo. Brad, you finished in last place this week in the picks. Not good. I guess Jesse Spano and Lisa Turtle didn't return your calls. But that shouldn't come as a surprise, as girls never return any of your calls. On to my picks. Oklahoma, minus 10. Florida, plus 14. Arkansas, minus 10. Nebraska, minus 11. Tennessee, plus 1. Air Force, plus 15. And my game of the week. Miami takes on Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. Miami will get a big game from quarterback Jacoby Harris and running back Lamar Miller to pull out a big victory against the very overrated Hokies. Miami wins 24-20.
I have a bone to pick with him, as usual. How can this be his game of the week? Did he watch how terrible Virginia Tech was last week? Did he see how bad Miami's been this whole season? This is not the marquee matchup of the week. It's one of the games to talk about, but certainly not the marquee matchup. As for overrated, I don't make the preseason rankings that put Virginia Tech where they were, and they just kind of moved up a little bit as other teams lost. That's why I hate preseason rankings. I don't necessarily think they're a top 10 team. Do I think they'll finish in the top 25 this season? We'll find out, but I would think so.
Now, they got Miami, who's Craig's team, going against your team. Maybe that has a little to do with the game of the week. Maybe a little rivalry starting there.
Yeah, look, everyone should know by now that the guys on this show, we're fans of the game as well. We have our teams we root for, but we also try to be objective in our picks. Virginia Tech's got to show a better offensive effort if they're going to win this game. That means taking some of the pressure off of quarterback Logan Thomas, who struggled in his first year as a starter, and giving the ball to running back David Wilson, who's a very good running back. Miami, quite simply, though, is just an average team. They don't play very good run defense. I really don't think the Hurricanes are going to, win this game, even though Virginia Tech struggled last week.
Yeah, the Hurricanes actually were in a little bit of a roll. They beat Ohio State in emphatic fashion. Then they lost to Kansas State, and now you can pretty much throw everything in the air with the Hurricanes. We don't really know what we're going to get. We don't really know what we're going to get with the Hokies either. But you have a score, I assume.
If they're going to finish in the top 25, like I said, they'll win this game and try to get back on the right track. Hokies 20-13.
Yeah, Virginia Tech is minus 7.5 in this game. I'm going to pick them to win 27-20, but Miami covers. The next game up is an afternoon showdown on NBC. Air Force goes into Notre Dame. Notre Dame's 15-point favorites. Air Force is coming off a huge win against Navy where they won in overtime. What do you have to say about this one?
I have one message for Notre Dame. Watch out. It is tough to play option teams. We've seen it the last several years. Notre Dame's lost to Navy 3 of the last 4 years, and the last time they played Air Force in 2007, they got shelled. I know we're dealing with different teams now, but it's never easy to play an option team. You're not usually game planning for that. You only get a week to do it. I think the Irish got to be on top of their game and really tackle well in this game.
The only thing that worries me about this game, Air Force might have had their one shining moment last week in that memorable win over Navy. Notre Dame, we all know they're not very good, but are they good enough to beat Air Force?
I think that's the difference between this year's team and last year's team. They'll have enough to get by games where sometimes they were tripped up. They'll win this one 38-28.
Yeah, Notre Dame, like I said, minus 15. They're going to win this one, surprisingly, I might add, 35-14. Our next matchup features two SEC teams that have fallen on hard times. Unranked Georgia goes into unranked Tennessee. Derek Dooley, the coach of the Vols, is looking for a signature win. This could be the time to get it.
Yeah, the Tennessee Volunteers really could use a win to get some momentum going in a kind of a wide-open SEC race. Meanwhile, we've seen Georgia build some momentum following a very difficult 0-2 start. Their defense is playing well. They've won 3 games in a row. If they're going to jump back into this SEC race, which seems wide open because South Carolina, I'm not sure about them anymore, then they'll win this game and start to build even more momentum.
Georgia needs a big win as well. That's obvious. Tennessee, we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago when you said they haven't been good since Peyton Manning was the quarterback. Well, I think they're actually going to step up in this game. They're 1-point underdogs at home. Who wins it?
Yeah, this game is a toss-up as the spread would indicate, but I like Georgia in this one, 27-17.
Yeah, like I said, the Tennessee Volunteers are +1 in this game. They're going to pull the upset, 27-24.
Everyone knows the SEC always gets a lot of love, and as impressive as Auburn and Alabama were last week, I'm going to go a different place with the penthouse. I'm going to put Wisconsin in the penthouse. It's about time they get some love. Excellent football team with Russell Wilson. They just demolished Nebraska. Watch out for Wisconsin making a run at the national title.
Welcome to the doghouse, and something that's going to surprise many people, I'm putting the Big East Conference in there. Why? They didn't do anything wrong, but they lost TCU before they even showed up. TCU reportedly is going to sign with the Big 12. Wow, Big East, you lose before you even get started. It's the Big East. What else do you expect? Number 15 Auburn goes into number 10 Arkansas in a huge SEC battle on Saturday night. Auburn came up with a big defensive victory against South Carolina last week. But as we all know, South Carolina not that good on offense, so you can't really read too much into it. Arkansas, on the other hand, wow, what an offense they got.
Yeah, their offensive explosion in the second half led them to a very good comeback victory over Texas A&M after a horrible loss to Alabama the week before. Meanwhile, you mentioned Auburn, who, I know I've said this before, but I just can't be enough impressed with how well they've responded considering all the players they've lost from last season. They had a very good win over South Carolina last week. The SEC West is simply loaded, but I don't know if Auburn's going to be able to handle the firepower of Arkansas. That's the problem here. Auburn, I've been impressed with them as well. You figure that they weren't going to win a game with how things were going in the early going. They're right in the thick of it. This one's going to be tough because Arkansas has a great offense. Auburn has trouble defending the pass.
Arkansas passes all over the field. Who wins this one?
What you need is Arkansas to get a better first half than they did last week.
Right.
Auburn always keeps it close. I think they will again this time, but I like Arkansas at 33-26.
Yeah, Arkansas is -10 in this game. I have them winning it 35-28. It's not often we get to talk about a huge college football matchup that's going to start at noon, not prime time, but we're going to get that on ABC as number 3 Oklahoma takes on number 11 Texas in the Cotton Bowl, the Red River rivalry. This is just the second time in the past 7 years that these two schools come into this game undefeated. This one's going to be a slobber knocker.
Yeah, I like that's a good use of the word right there. Texas is kind of out for revenge over all the teams they lost to last year. They got one last week, beating Iowa State, and I got to give Texas credit. They've improved steadily each week. They're a better team than what we thought they were when the year began. But Oklahoma, they're a different class of team. I just think they're better on defense. They're better on offense. They have better weapons. I think you're going to see a lot of quarterback Landry Jones to wide receiver Ryan Broyles in this game.
The Oklahoma struggled to beat Missouri a couple of weeks ago. That had me down on the Sooners. Texas, I've been down on the whole year. I thought they were going to make a run. Then they had that close win over BYU. Changed my mind completely. Oklahoma, like you said, completely different class than Texas. But a rivalry could always go either way.
A rivalry can go either way, and when you get these early starts, sometimes things go weird. This is a Central Time Zone start. Don't forget, it's 11 a.m. for those guys. But, like I said, Oklahoma too much, 35-21.
Yeah, Oklahoma -10 in this game. Wins it 33-20. For Anthony, for Joe, for Craig, I'm Brad. We'll see you guys next week.